So how do we make a wet map? So we're going to use the Insydium way, but essentially you can do it the same way in Cinema 4D, just using vertex maps and maybe some fields, but the process is essentially the same, except we're going to use the Insydium version so we can point it towards our Insydium particles. So how do we do that? So in our particle XP system, we can go down to utilities and we can go down to xpVertex map. Once we're in a vertex map, let's find what we want to actually put a map on. So we're going to get our stone and just drag that in there. And if we click on our vertex map, you can see everything's red. So a vertex map will normally do shades of red to yellow, and it's essentially the same way that Luma maps work or anything like that, where one color represents one thing, the other color represents the other. We're going to go into our vertex map and we're going to get rid of polygons. We're going to click here and just close that. Click back into our stone 1 and we're just going to do xpVertex vertices. And then in our objects tab down here, we're going to just grab our emitter, and I'm also going to put my foam emitter in there just because I've got a low foam particle as well. And you can already see what's happening. It's already affecting, because I've got it cached. I could do a quick kind of playthrough all the way through and you can see how that's working. And what we could do is we could change the range. So if we drop that down to maybe like 3 centimeters, you can see now that that is closer to the water, so that might be where it splashes up, that kind of stuff. We can go into effects and we can just whack up our smoothing, so let's maybe do that to 10, and you can see, if we drop that back down to 0, you can see it just smooths out where those vertices meet. So we get a much smoother gradient, so we get a much smoother look. And if we go into layers as well, we can change the blend mode here to fade then add. And this works nicely because if we play it through and we turn the renderer off for a second, we play it through and I turn the essentially the water off, we can see that this gradient changes over time based on how the water works, and it fades and essentially dries over time. Okay, that's cool, but if we look at our renderer, now that we have our vertex map, and again, you can do this using a normal vertex map. As you can see, we haven't got anything there. If I turn off the water, you can see that there's no actual adjustments there. As you can see, I've already prepared a stone wet and a stone. You can see it's fairly straightforward. I have a texture color and an AO, ambient occlusion. There's a rough map going into the roughness, displacement going into the displacement for Redshift. And we have our bump node. Obviously you can see it makes quite a big difference there. Great, but we need to attach our wet map to it. So if I drag the one that I pre-prepared into here, you can already see now it's a lot darker because water on the stone would make it darker. It would kind of dampen the colour, make it feel kind of, the texture of it would feel richer. So let's build the wet texture from scratch in here to match this. So we're going to press C on our keyboard and we're going to find a vertex attribute. Now with our vertex attribute, we want to grab our vertex map over here and drag that into the attribute name. Make sure you name this something more appropriate, because if we had lots of these, they would all start picking up on this thing. We want to use the same color as what's down here. I'm going to bring in the ramp that I've already got pre-made that I quite like, and essentially it's just black to a slightly lighter brown, just to kind of give it that little bit of extra detail and texture here. I'm going to grab the color texture and I'm just going to move that up here and put it into the alt input. So we're going to grab this and we're going to take it up to texture color, and then we're going to do adjust color multiplier. Okay, so if we solo this now and we put this texture back on our stone, you'll be able to see that we are affecting only where the vertex map is touching. These three things up here. And if we solo back down into here, we see the entire stone. So let's go back up to the top and let's grab a standard material node and we're going to grab that into the base color. Let's solo this. So I want the reflections to be high, but that's looking a little bit too high for me, but that's fine. Maybe we can work with something like that. And then what I also want is I'm going to bring this into the coat color, and in here coat, I'm just going to wrap that up to 1, and also just going to bring this into the sheen color, just to make sure everything just feels a little bit brighter, a little bit more reflective, all that kind of good stuff. So what do we do now? How do we get these two talking to each other? So we're going to press C again, and we're going to get a material blender and bring that in, and we're going to get our standard material as our color. We're going to get our WetMap material over here as our material color, and our blend color, we're just going to bring it from our vertex attribute over. So now if we solo this, you can see already that we have our original stone texture and our WetMap texture underneath. And all we need to do is just plug that back into our output so the displacement gets put back on. And there we have it. We have our WetMap texture along with our dry stone. There you can see the WetMap really working against the water. And that is how we do a WetMap in Cinema 4D. Again, you can use a Cinema 4D Vertex map for this to also generate, but not just wet maps either. You can do things where they can turn from one texture to another, or anything that you creatively feel like that you want to enhance with a material. You're able to do that using this Vertex map system. So have lots of fun with that. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you'd like me to cover for next time, and I will see you all again soon. Thank you.